Hey, this is Ariel, and you're listening to the Cyber PR Music Podcast, Dispatches for the New Music Business. Today's episode is making me have pins and needles because today is for the ladies, and we are going to be focusing on an organization that is very near and dear to the hearts of not only me, but thousands of women from around the planet. It's Women in Music. Today, I have my friend and special guest, Nicole Barsalona, with us. She is the president of WIM. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. What a great intro.
I am so excited to get into this conversation with you because every time I meet women in the industry and I know that they're not a part of Women in Music, I always try to encourage them to join. And I am so excited about all of the things that Women in Music has been doing and is doing and has planned for the new year, 2020. And I'm so thrilled and delighted that you're going to be the one telling us all about it today.
Thanks. Well, we are doing some exciting stuff, so we can't wait to see what the new year brings.
So just so people can have a little context, I'd love if you could tell everyone a little bit about who you are and your pretty much lifelong experience being in and around the music business.
Yeah. So my name is Nicole Barsalona, and I am an artist manager and the new president of Women in Music. I came on in February, and I've been on the board of directors for WIM since 2013, which is a pretty long time now. And I've just been so excited to kind of see the organization grow and develop under a couple of our leaders, Nita and Jess, before me. And we now are a global organization, so it's an exciting time. We have chapters from LA to India, so a lot of really exciting development. Serving underserved markets all over the place. And my background is in the industry. I grew up with a dad who was a legendary booking agent and a mom who was a rock journalist from London, still the coolest chick I know on the planet. And so I grew up in and around the business and touring during summer breaks from school and around a lot of fun personalities, and certainly had few female mentors back in the day to look to. And so was always kind of top of mind to hopefully be a part of an organization like WIM one day. And it's been really, really instrumental to developing my career personally. I started out at Stephen Van Zant's media company doing production and festivals and radio syndication and PR and branding and communications. And I toured with him for years, and then was really burnt out and didn't want to tour for the rest of my life 24/7 because it just didn't seem sustainable to me. I wanted to build a family one day. And so I took a step back and started my own management firm, thinking that was the only way I was going to be able to maybe craft a career in this business that seemed sustainable. And WIM was just a huge part of developing that for me, because all of a sudden, even though I wasn't a part of a big company, I had this immediate network. And so I remember going to South by Southwest in 2013, I think it was, the first time I was on my own. And I met Jennifer Newman-Sharp, who was the vice president of WIM formerly, and is now my attorney and dear, dear friend. And she was one person I'd met through WIM, and she was there at South by. And so all of a sudden I had a colleague immediately by my side, and I felt stronger, more confident being there on my own. And then she introduced me to more members of WIM and the board. And all of a sudden I just had this immediate network of support and resources. And it really just made it all possible to kind of develop my own business and my own career on my own terms. So it was really huge for me. And I'm so excited now to be serving as president and hopefully making an impact with our incredible hundreds of volunteers around the world to make a difference for young women in the industry, women in the middle of their careers, even women at the senior levels who now get to mentor other people and hopefully make a difference that way as well.
I agree. As also a board member, I lean on this community of incredible women and, of course, a few men. We're not only we're not only women, but there are many brave men amongst our ranks. And
are.
one of the things that I love so much about this organization is we have a private Google group, and whenever you need something, I need
Yeah.
I need a photographer, I need to find a list of publishing companies in Paris, I need really good advice about should I, hire a Spotify company, or what should I do, or
Right.
where I'm going to a new city and want to meet some other women in the industry, and there's thousands of women on that list who all jump to help, and that is very rare. I think,
Yes.
as someone who spends a lot of time sitting in front of a computer looking for connection, I think, as so many of us in the industry are, it's just a great place to get that support. So before we
Absolutely.
get into what we're doing now, which is so much, can you give us a brief history of WIM and how it started?
Yeah, absolutely. So WIM was founded in 1985. We're almost 35 years old, which is wild. And it existed mainly out of New York as a networking and educational resource. So we're a 501c3 educational nonprofit. And so the organization held panels and seminars and workshops for years and years to kind of give women those tools that you need to really succeed. And like you were saying, the Google group, which is just an incredible resource. So if you have a question about a contract, or you need to talk to someone who's in publishing because you have a question about something, or whatever it is, that has been there to help. And so historically, that's kind of how we've served our members. And until about 5 years ago, I think it was, we just existed in New York as a New York-based organization. And now we have these chapters all over the place. And we've slowly started expanding, which has been really, really exciting and really empowering for, I think, for our members too, because now you're not only able to reach people in New York on that Google group, but our members in India and in Romania and in South America. And if you're traveling to different cities just domestically for work, you get to connect with women in those local markets as well in our chapters. So we've had a really rich history. And the last few years have just been a really exciting story of expansion and development, which I think is a reflection of the industry overall. So it's been empowering to see women in our community kind of build out these networks as they begin to kind of work all over the world.
Amazing. And how much does it cost to join? And for those who are listening who are interested, where can they find out about the application process?
Yeah, so they can go to womeninmusic.org and they can sign up for membership. It's $75 for professionals and $50 for students. And they get access to all of our events worldwide. So if they are traveling, it's not like you're only a member of one chapter. You get access to all of the different chapter events. And all of our online resources. And we also have big events and parties at different conferences and festivals, which is one of my favorite things. So this really rich network, kind of wherever you go. And we are launching some really exciting new initiatives that members will have access to. One is this online portal next year, kind of like an internal LinkedIn almost, where WIM will just exist within this one place online. You can see everyone's profile. You can connect directly. You can see a listing of our events by chapter. There's going to be kind of what the Google group is now in a message board on that system. So same kind of access, but a little bit more organized and in one place. So it's a really exciting time, I think, for members to join. And we're also really looking for people who want to get involved, but beyond just general membership. We have teams now all over the place, so we need more people to kind of fill roles on those teams, whether it's communication or event planning or fundraising or membership liaisons. And also we have global roles now. So our board is no longer based out of New York, but it's a global team made of people who are kind of all over the place and representing different markets. And so we do have kind of global vice chair roles, we call them, which is just under the board level. And they work on kind of our global events and initiatives. And I can tell you a little bit more about those global events and initiatives if you're ready for it.
Yeah, I know this past year we rolled out in India, which was really exciting.
Yeah.
And I know there's many other chapters that are coming up into the works. And yes, please do tell.
Yeah. So, and first I'll say that Nita Raghuwanshi is like our global ambassador. She is the most incredible representative of WIM abroad, and she has been traveling so much this year. And WIM India was like all thanks to Nita going over there last year and attending a big conference and networking with a bunch of incredible women over there. Priyanka Kamani is the chapter chair in India for us, and is just one of the most widely respected women in the industry there. And I know from personal experience, because one of my clients is Indian, and my whole team over there just raves about her reputation. So it's really exciting to have women who are that well respected leading these global chapters for us, and kind of creating a new name for WIM abroad. And so Nita's been doing that. She was launching WIM Romania. WIM Israel is in talks. We have South American chapters in Brazil and Colombia. And some really exciting partnerships with other global organizations as well, which we're going to be announcing in the new year. But in terms of kind of our initiatives globally, we're launching 3 main things this year that we're most excited about. One just launched this month, and that's our mentorship program. And members have been asking for this for years, and we've never really come up with a way to facilitate it. But now that we have all of these amazing teams working together, we're finally able to launch it this month. And we just announced it on the Kelly Clarkson show earlier this week with Secret Deodorant. And they are our sponsor partners in this initiative to kind of get it off the ground, which is really exciting because they're doing a lot of great work with female empowerment. And they came to us because they wanted an activation in the music space. And so we were like, you know what, let's make this a mentorship program initiative. Let's gift memberships to women who apply. 250 women who apply get women in music memberships. And then 50 of those applicants are chosen for facilitated one-on-one mentorships. And the goal there is really to propel these women's careers forward in whatever way they need. So whether you're an aspiring artist or whether you're an executive who just needs a little bit of career development guidance to get to the next level, whether you're a mother coming back in to work after taking some time off, whatever the case may be, we want members and non-members to apply for this program to try to match with some industry mentors who can really get them to the next stage. And the overall goal is to make sure that we're getting more women into decision-making roles in the industry, because of course that trickles down and makes it a more diverse and inclusive community for all of us.
I think there is one thing that whenever I speak to younger people or students who are studying music industry and have aspirations to be in and around the business, that is one thing that I hear over and over, which is, how do I get a mentor?
Right.
Or, and even women like myself who, working in the business for years and years, it took years for me to identify
right.
who my mentors even were. Most of them were men. And it's it's unusual. So this is really exciting. And also the fact that women can get access in an early stage. Because I think, we all find our mentors in our 10th or 11th or 12th year in any business. But it's in those early stages where it would be so helpful to have anyone help guide you.
Right. And this is, what I think about is great about this is when you say like finding a mentor, it seems so overwhelming, and hearing that someone wants you to be their mentor seems like a little bit overwhelming too. I think everyone's kind of goals and time commitments and all of that kind of comes into play. And so it's really sometimes an awkward process if it's not something that's organic. And otherwise just seems kind of out of reach. And so this program is 3 months of facilitated mentorship, and we match you based on your goals. And the mentor approves the match. So it's someone who's like already interested in what you are looking to do. And it doesn't have to be someone who's necessarily, if you want to be in artist management, it's great to work with a mentor who's in artist management, but it could also be someone who is at a record label and works with artist managers and has that perspective. It's just really a matter of matching with someone who can kind of help you with those goals that you set out. And so it's really facilitated and guided. And we have different, goal setting workshops on both ends for the mentor and the mentee to make sure that they're really both getting the most out of it. It is only 3 months at a time. And then the mentor can continue the relationship if they have time and energy and resources to do that. But really it's to kind of kickstart things and make sure that these women have access to high-level professionals in the field who can offer guidance and advice and just support and encouragement. I think it's just so awesome to think that you would have access to some of these women who are on our list of mentors, just to kind of ask questions of.
And the importance of, having someone to just throughout the rest of your career, someone that you can
Right.
call, someone you can shoot a quick email over to and ask a question.
Right.
That's a rare find.
Right. Right. And if, that person is helping you in certain ways and you need help later on with something else, they can hopefully provide those resources and just connect you with more people who can kind of guide you for whatever resources and support you need outside of just the general WIM community.
Indeed. So what else? Okay, so that's number one. We've got this huge mentorship initiative happening.
Yes.
What else is on deck?
So we have a couple of other really exciting things. One is a diversity and inclusion council that we're launching. And I'm really excited about this because we worked for so many years on gender equity. But under that umbrella, I think the needs of women of color, of the LGBTQ community, of other underrepresented groups, we just haven't really addressed. And we did this incredible panel on equity, diversity, and inclusion in the music industry at Mondo NYC in the fall. And I think that it really opened my eyes to some of the bigger picture things that we want to be focused on. And Chissy, this amazing woman from Concord, is going to share our council for us. And we have an amazing team of women who are going to be kind of advising all of the work we do at WIM under that diversity and inclusion umbrella, just to inform our actions and how we can be more inclusive in everything we do across all of the WIM chapters. And one of the things Chissy brought up at this panel, and we had speakers from Forbes and Pandora and TripAdvisor, and it was really kind of eye-opening because we talked a lot about microaggressions. And, when we talk about equity and diversity and inclusion, it's not just issues of like blatant racism or misogyny that we're talking about fighting. It's also these microaggressions that we just don't really address very often in music. So I think it was Chissy on the panel who gave the example of people coming to her at work, assuming that she knows about R&B and hip hop because she's a woman of color. And just little things like that constantly happening, just assumptions that people make, are just like little ways that we can have a dialogue and kind of bring those things up more and talk more openly about how we should work together and maybe how we should not make assumptions and how we can kind of get around that and work to just be better colleagues and friends and just a more inclusive community overall, and just be aware of little things that can really make a difference in a dynamic at a company, between colleagues. All of these things that I think day to day sometimes we forget are actually a really big deal when they build up in a company environment. We talked about the whitewashing of feminism, and that's something that we haven't really addressed. And the feminist movements in general have gotten a lot of flack over the years for being mainly a white women's movement and addressing the needs of white women, even privileged white women. And so things like this, like just having a more open dialogue at WIM and in music about how we can tackle these issues that are, addressed in corporate America a lot of the time. And there are all kinds of policies and best practices overall, but that we don't really talk about that often in music. So that is exciting because I think it'll be able to really just open this kind of can of worms that we haven't at WIM before, and hopefully bring people together to have really frank conversations in a really positive way. And then the other huge thing, which is what I'm most excited about for 2020, and all kind of feeds into the mentorship and the diversity and inclusion piece as well, is a workplace initiative. And we are working on naming the best places to work for women in music for 2020. And that came out of this idea that I was just really frustrated that my husband's company, it's a big consulting firm, corporate company, and they're always listed on the best places to work for women list. And it drives me crazy because we just don't have that in music. And not only do we not have that, but there isn't that much transparency around what companies do offer. So we hear from young women graduating college and they're like, what company should I apply for? What benefits are available? What company cultures are known to be better than others? And, we all kind of have anecdotal information, but nothing concrete. So we're really excited to be working on that And I think that it's going to be not only informing people who are applying to jobs in the industry on kind of what's available, but also acting as a call to action and hopefully, getting information out there, applauding companies that are doing great things or just small artist teams, whoever it is, and then putting a call to action out for everyone else to raise their standards, and to make sure with this and our mentorship program and the D&I Council and this big task force that we're going to be announcing in early 2020 that we have power in numbers in this industry. And I think we just need to make sure that everyone understands that and addresses the needs of women, and really places a priority on creating a more diverse and inclusive and equitable business.
And how is WIM going to go about assessing how women-friendly these companies are to work for? And what are the parameters there?
Yeah, such a good question. So we are going to be kind of announcing a lot more about the program in Q1, but we have an advisory board put together and a really killer team of women who are setting benchmarks. And we're working with other outlets that kind of build these best places to work lists to set the parameters and then apply it to the music industry. Because it's also like, what is the music industry and what companies are included in that. So there are a lot of different pieces, but we'll be kind of officially announcing all of those parameters in Q1, hopefully, once it's all put together.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's say someone goes over to womeninmusic.org. They decide they want to sign up. They pay their $50 if they're a student, or their $75 if they are a working person in the business. What are the next steps that a new member should take in order to begin to ingratiate themselves into the women in music community?
Well, I would say that definitely once we have this new online platform, the Warm Intro platform, up in the new year, they'll be able to just kind of post into different chapter groups. But in the meantime, I would say definitely introduce yourself on the Google group. Sometimes we get a lot of emails in the Google group, and so it's not every day that we're able to kind of read every introduction I think that a member makes, but I love seeing those intros, and I do personally always take time to kind of go back and see if anyone has made an intro and reach out to them directly just to see how we can get them involved or just to be connected. I love kind of seeing whether it's someone domestically or internationally introduce themselves and what they do and what they're looking for. And I think that's another piece. Like the next year, we're really going to be focusing on making asks of one another. So not just to connect and network, but really bring business to one another. And make connections in really meaningful ways. So I would say email the Google group with an intro of yourself. And you can always reach out to me. And my email is nicole@womeninmusic.org. In case anyone has questions or concerns or is looking to make a specific connection. And certainly for anyone who is looking to get involved in WIM in a larger capacity to volunteer on one of our many amazing teams.
Very cool. So one of the things that I love the most about being a WIM member is whenever I'm at a music conference, like a South by Southwest or MeDem, which can feel very overwhelming because it's a global conference and there's not a lot of bands there or artists. It's much more an industry-focused one. Is these events, these sort of caucuses that come to each and every pretty much major music festival and conference that's taking place. Often there's a Women in Music cocktail party that you can come be a part of, or a sponsored panel where there'll be members of Women in Music speaking and addressing whatever topic is of interest for that conference. But then there's always a lot of Women in Music members.
Right.
Is there a list of where we might, or our members might be able to find what conferences exactly WIM is participating in?
Yeah, so we have a list of events, of past events online, but we do have, for the new platform we're launching in the new year, a list of all the global events at conferences and festivals. And I will say that's like one of my favorite things about WIM is that you do have access when you go to these conferences to just kind of tap into the network. And one of the great things I think that we're doing this year is we brought on this new chair of global events, UD, to really facilitate event strategy. And, we've come up with these 3 different types of events that we're fitting every women event into now, to make sure that there's a really facilitated aspect of it, so that you're not just showing up at a cocktail party and don't know anyone, but that you can be matched with a buddy ahead of time, just to have someone to be there with and kick things off with, so that you're more comfortable, or like little icebreakers that are not annoying and stressful, but really fun when you first get to an event. We're going to have new kind of badges that all WIM members and WIM leadership are going to wear, so you can identify us more easily at these conferences in the new year. And we're going to be doing a lot more of like a facilitated outreach for people who have gone in past years, to make sure that we are getting everyone together, and that everyone has a place to go and feel comfortable and have an immediate network once they get to these conferences. Certainly, like you said, Con and Meetum, it can seem like far away and very high level. So if you're coming for the first time, it's just really awesome to have people there who you can go to and automatically network with, and go to different panels with, and just kind of have a buddy system, so you're plugged in automatically.
It's so powerful. I remember my first South by Southwest. I was 23 years old, and I had no idea what I was doing. I just sort of wandered around the street. I did end up meeting some people who became friends for life, but that was very much sort of random. It was definitely not premeditated in any way. It was just sort of as luck would have it. And I'm an extrovert, so that was not hard. But I think about so many artists and creatives that I work with, it's not in their nature to get into a room and be like, hey,
exactly,
it's uncomfortable. So that's a very useful and helpful way. And also to connect and to understand people's background and what they're about, before you show up is tremendous.
Right. We're also launching this communications campaign at WIM to highlight the different board members, advisory board members, and the different leadership teams on every chapter on socials. And so you'll have their LinkedIn links, you'll have their photos, you'll have a little bio and Q&A, just to like add a little color to everyone's background. And so that members feel like they know who the WIM community is a little bit more. And certainly we love highlighting members in their work as well. So we're going to kind of continue rolling that out once we get started. Because I think that is something that, sometimes there isn't like a face to the names on the Google group. So it's nice to kind of just make these connections, see who people are, and then certainly link one another professionally on the million different platforms that we have now, to make sure that everyone is connected and stays in touch and again, like brings work to one another.
Fantastic. Are there any special or specific WIM success stories that you might want to share or single out to give listeners a little bit more context about how WIM can help or what WIM has done specifically?
Yeah, I don't want to single out anyone specifically without prior approval, but I will say that I hear not only from women who have recently been hired into positions from WIM job postings and from our network, but also from companies and male allies at companies who say, in fact, 2 recently, one from Live Nation, have said, WIM is always the first place we come with the job posting because we always get the most fabulous candidates and have hired so many people. And that is really exciting. And that's another piece of this new platform we're launching in the new year, that we're going to be able to gather that kind of data. So we're going to be able to say, listen, this is how many women got hired through our network in 2020. And I think that kind of stuff will be really, really exciting, and certainly is so impactful for us. And hopefully we'll just kind of engage and excite members a little bit more too. And then
that's also a tremendous perk of the Google group is once a week there's a dispatch that goes out that shows what positions are available in the business, where you can apply. I just found an assistant on the network. I've hired a lot of people from our network. We found interns, and it's just it's a great place. That is very true, to find people who are already coming to the organ. I think, whenever I put out a call for possible jobs on like LinkedIn, there's always so many that have no music experience whatsoever, but they think, it might be fun to work in music. And I'm like, actually, I'm looking for someone that already has something. So it's a vetted place to find jobs. And also all kinds of other things we post about, people looking for roommates or artists that are going on tours that have short-term apartment leases in New York and Nashville and all the cities. So I also find that can be, it's hard to find that, you just want to go to Craigslist and see if maybe
it's curated. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. It's a curated list. Yeah. Of people who are kind of in the network. And Mina Navarez, our chair of global communications, has done the greatest job. Her and her team have done a great job with the WIM community news that goes out every week that you're talking about. It's just like a great way of not only highlighting the different events at WIM and our teams and our members who are doing some really cool stuff, and certainly the job listings and housing and all of that stuff, but also like industry news. I love that Rebecca, who manages the newsletter, has started including some industry news highlights, and they do a great job of highlighting different things. Like I've learned a lot about the Latin American music scene because the WIM Miami team is doing so much down there, and just kind of highlight stuff that I wouldn't necessarily be seeing or paying attention to. So that's kind of fun too. And we certainly want to do that more for our members, just highlight different industry news that's relevant, that I think is also a great benefit. And then as part of that, I should mention, part of our D&I Council includes a Male Allies program. So as I'm talking about men who hire so many people from WIM, that's another thing we're doing, is really trying to figure out how to engage and activate our male members. Because there are so many men who work tirelessly alongside our mission for equity. Jeff Hammer at Northwestern Mutual is one of our sponsors, and he is like the most incredible male ally. He is helping us build a gifting program for WIM, an endowment. I mean, he's really done the most incredible job supporting the organization and helping us reach our goals. And so highlighting men like that who are making a real difference is something we want to do in the new year as well. And just like thank our male allies and make sure that we're reaching out to men. And we have so many decision makers in the industry who we need to be aware of all of these issues that we face and make sure they're also working alongside us to make a difference. So that's a big thing for us too. So any male members who want to get involved, we would love to have you be a part of our Male Allies program and build out that side of the D&I Council.
So for those men who have bravely gotten to almost 30 minutes in listening to two women talk about women in music, yes, it is open to you.
Especially you if you've made it almost 30 minutes. We want you.
This is true.
Also, it is a great time for our male members because our events are mostly women. So it's this really cool group of powerful, awesome women in the industry. And why wouldn't more men want to attend events and kind of join our mission? It's a good time.
Agree. I think we've covered so much, but just to recap, for those of you who are possibly already members and haven't been fully aware of what we are up to, there's your major update from Nicole. For those of you who are women in the business and you've wondered a little bit or you've heard about women in music, but you didn't really understand the mission, I always say to other women, it's the best $75 a year that you could ever spend for the network alone, for the idea that you can go onto the Google group at any time and ask for anything, and for the connectivity. So it's womeninmusic.org. Thank you, Nicole, so much for being here and for filling us in about all the exciting things that we have going on for 2020 and beyond. And again, if you do want to communicate with Nicole or have questions, she's very generously shared her email address, which will also be here in the show notes, as well as links to a couple of really useful pages on the Women in Music website, as well as where you can come and apply. Thank you so much, Nicole.
This podcast is brought to you by our friends at Bandzoogle. Built by musicians for musicians, Bandzoogle is an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to build a beautiful website for your music. Enter the code CYBER15 to get your first month absolutely free.